Norikis.
Here.
Roger Sprague.
Here.
Henry Quant.
Here.
And Wes Ryan.
Here. Please stand for the Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge of Allegiance of the United States of America, to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you all for appearing tonight, and the viewing public who we can't see, but we know they're out there. It's nice early June, 1st June meeting. Our next order of business is comments from citizens present. Comments from citizens present on agenda, non-agenda items. This is an opportunity for members of the audience to bring to the council's attention any item. If you desire your comments to be part of the public record of a specific public hearing item, then you do need to wait for that agenda item to be called. Otherwise, you are free to comment at this time. Comments are limited to 5 minutes per citizen, and the city recorder will use a light system. Speakers may not yield their time to others, and as a general rule, this is not a time for exchange of questions. At the conclusion of this agenda item, a councilor may discuss or raise questions regarding an item presented by a citizen. The mayor has the authority to reduce the time allowed for comment in accordance with the number of persons present and signed up to speak. As your name is called, please state your name for the record and begin your remarks right into the microphone. And we have one sign up. Pat Colin, is it? Alan. That's an A. I can see the A now. K, C A. Oh, did they?
And they stick an S at the end, like I don't know how to spell my name.
Welcome, Pat.
Hi. As we've discussed, my name is Pat Callan. I live at 1550 Southeast 14th Street, right here in Lincoln City. And I'd like to ask a favor of the City Council, and I might have missed my chance with the last meeting. I don't know if any of you know, there was a doozy car accident last Saturday night on the corner of 14th and 101. And there's always, you hear a lot of breaks and misses. One of my requests was to look into maybe putting signage up that asks our visitors and our locals to not block street access. It's very hard to get out and in on 14th Street, which, if you're not familiar, it is the backside of the mall. And
so you're talking about southeast, southwest 14th, okay. Gotcha.
Southeast, yeah. And it's the backside of the mall. And you can sit there. During the summertime, I don't even go out that way. I go up, cross by Mart, down and come out at the light because it's the safest. But a lot of locals don't do that. And our visitors come to town, and you get the big truck and the big trailer. You've totally blocked the entire intersection. And if I've seen these signs around, and I always thought that would be a good thing to put on, that you are not to be blocking street access. And that's my request. If someone would look into it and see if it's a justifiable one. But it's very hard to make a left onto 14th, and it's almost impossible to make a left onto 101 from 14th during the summertime.
Great. Thanks for bringing it to our attention. Thank you.
Thank you. Good night.
Nobody else signed up, but anyone else that missed their opportunity? Hearing like none, then let's move on to the consent agenda. The consent agenda, the consent calendar consists of items on a repeat or routine nature considered under a single action. A councilor may remove a consent agenda item for separate or consideration upon request.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I'd like to pull item 4.
As soon as I read the items on the agenda.
I thought you were through. I'm sorry.
That's all right.
I want
But
to
hold
get this
that
meeting
thought.
over with.
The consent agenda consists of, number 1, minutes of the meeting for May 12, 2014. Number 2, Oregon Liquor Control Commission, additional privilege of off-premises sales application, Lee's Garden Enterprises Incorporated. Number 3, Oregon Liquor Control Commission, full on-premise sales, commercial establishment application for the wine cellar at the Eventuary. Number 4, the nonprofit grant and for-profit marketing partnership guidelines. And number 5, a contract award, West Devils Lake Road Sewer Pump Station Engineering Construction Management Services Award. You wish to pull which one?
Number 4, please.
Gotcha.
And number 5, please, Mr. Mayor.
Okay. Anybody else? Hearing none, I'd entertain a motion to approve the consent agenda 1, 2, and 3.
So moved.
Seconded. There's a second, motion with a second to approve consent agenda. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with a nay? Hearing none. Number 4, the nonprofit grant for-profit marketing partnership guidelines. Mr. Sprague?
Mr. Mayor, we received a copy of a memo from Sandy, the VCB director, to David Hawker with a list of the recommended changes. And number 8 and number 9 kind of bothered me. Number 8 was funds may be used for out-of-pocket expenses, but I didn't see an explanation of what really is included in out-of-pocket expenses, and I thought maybe it might be easier just to say the things that aren't covered and then everything else is.
That particular provision came from a misunderstanding by a potential applicant that the funds could be used in exchange for sponsorship-type arrangements rather than actually paying an expense. That you could offset something you didn't actually pay for.
In kind.
Yeah. And I think this was intended to provide funds for out-of-pocket expenses rather than things that didn't occur. Otherwise, where does the money go? I mean, if it's not for out-of-pocket, I can stop now. If it's not for out-of-pocket expenses, then either it has to be refunded to us or it's being used in a way that I don't believe was intended. That's why.
Okay. That sounds okay.
I'm just not sure pocket is the right phrase. Maybe we could rephrase that.
Something like actual expenses, or
I can use whatever language you think is clearest.
I don't have a better suggestion, but
I can use both. I can say actual out-of-pocket expenses if that will make it clear. I mean, I just want it clear to people that you really have to spend money.
Not reimbursing in kind.
Right.
I would think that if you just added a little sentence right after that saying that in-kind expense or in-kind is not included.
Yeah.
Or something to that sort.
Okay, so I'll leave what's there and add in-kind expenses are not reimbursable from the grant funds.
Yeah, that's great.
Okay.
Okay. Then the next one is the VCC must seriously consider declining an award after 3 years if there's no growth. I thought we discussed that, and my take on it was that we may have a successful event that has maxed itself out, but it still brings people in, and so rather than to just consider declining coverage for that, I thought maybe we should not look at it that way.
We had a lengthy discussion, and when I went back and looked at the tape, I guess, as well as my notes, I understood that yes, they could award beyond 3 years, but there was some discussion also about taking an extra hard look at it at that point. But I can again change the language to whatever you'd like to have it changed to.
Well, if we've got an event that's continually bringing people here, and it is successful, but it's not growing for various reasons. One, maybe it's maxed out. I don't think we should want to be declining that for the future.
I don't disagree. I guess it was a reminder to the VCC members to have that be a consideration if something isn't growing. I know there was kind of a discord about how to do that, but I can use whatever language you'd like.
Mr. Mayor?
Yep.
Along that, the way it's phrased says, must seriously consider declining. It doesn't say they have to.
No.
It says that they really need to take a look at it. And I agree with that, because if they realize, if they look at it and they say, this is really a serious event, and it's just maxed out, and there's just not expected to be any growth, but it is bringing stuff in, then we're fine with it. But, you do need, when something isn't growing, I think you seriously need to look at it and see why it's not growing. Is it's maxed out, or is because the quality is suffering, or... So I think it's fine the way it is. That's my opinion.
I would agree.
And I would say this is a restatement from a 3-year max at all, which at one time was the proposal. And I think, as Mr. Ryan is pointing out, it's just saying at least take a look at it after 3 years and make some judgment calls.
Well, it just sounded to me like if you're not growing, that you aren't going to be able to continue with the funds. And I just think that wording is a little strong.
Well, I could take out the word seriously and add to that if an event is maxed out, just what you said, if an event is maxed out and unable to grow, that would not be a reason to terminate the funding.
Well, or maybe not. Maybe it's the no growth in attendance being to be taken out. Seriously take a look at it after 3 years, as they all should have kind of a review, and looking at the quality event. And one, I would expect that quality would be how many are attending, and are they, the nonprofit, making any money? Kind of the checklist of why you gave them the grant to begin with. I just look at
that would satisfy me
by eliminating that. Your concern is the no growth
right.
year to year might send the message, the wrong message.
I think it's a negative message, and we could just stop after the word years and put a period there and strike the rest of it.
If that's what you wish, I'm happy to do it.
I'd leave in the quality of the event, at least.
Okay, that's fine.
So we're taking out attendance and leaving in if no growth or in the quality of the event?
No.
Okay.
Help me out. Take out if there is no growth in the attendance. So, you consider declining an award after 3 years. The VC must seriously consider declining an award after 3 years if English majors.
If there is no growth in the quality of the event?
So just jump to quality of the event. So based on if the quality of the event has declined or isn't measuring up, and the quality of the event, to me, goes back to your checklist of why you funded them to begin with. So.
Okay.
Roger brought this up to begin with, so don't look at me, Sandy. I'm trying to help you.
Roger, it doesn't say they have to decline the event. It just says they're going to take a look at it.
He's just uncomfortable with no growth being in there.
What if we, instead of declining, said the VCC must seriously consider reassessing an award after 3 years if there is no growth in attendance or quality of the event?
Yeah, take out the word decline.
Reassess. Rather than decline.
That sounds fine. I go along with that.
Or change.
Yeah.
It's a message across.
That's fine.
Way to go.
Okay, just change declining to reassess.
Great. And then leave the dependent clause at the end in place still. True?
Yeah.
Okay. All right.
Thank you.
Anything else?
Just change one word. That's it.
Right. Got it.
Okay. Any other?
Comment, please, Mr. Mayor. I just saw a copy of this, Sandy, for guide for professional offices, and it looks very professional to me, and I think it's a fine addition to our information campaign.
Thank you. We actually got a phone call from a woman from Washington a couple of weeks ago who'd been in her doctor's office and seen that particular piece, and she wanted it, and they wouldn't let her have it because we marked it as an office copy. So she was so enamored of it and wanted to come to Lincoln City as a result that she called to get her own copy from us. So it's working.
Good.
One other comment. I'm looking at this memorandum of yours, 28 May 2014, activity of the BCC since your last report. And number 40 was you evaluated Oregon Pride marketing plan. What sort of results did that evaluation come up with?
Well, that plan is required of all of the grants now to get a second payment from the fund, so that I know what an organization is going to do by way of marketing their events so that we don't duplicate, but can also support each other. So if they're going to market their event, for instance, at a trade show, it may not make sense for me to do the same thing. So that event comes up in September, so we're really just beginning that process now, and we'll try to make that sync with what we do so we can leverage as much marketing with the money we have as we can.
Great. Thank you. Nice. I mean, you guys are extremely busy, it seems to me, and are covering a whole lot of bases, and I appreciate it.
We're trying hard.
Thank you.
It's important.
I'd entertain a motion to approve the nonprofit grant and for-profit marketing partnership guidelines.
With changes made, I do make that motion.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none? Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sandy. Mr. Norikis, contract award, Devil's Lake Road Sewer Pump.
Yes, I've got a few questions for Lila, please. Lila, who's going to be doing the construction work on this project?
That is out to bid right now, and so we'll have those bids coming in soon, and so this is the construction part of it, or the construction inspection services.
And will that be a amount of money in addition to the $1 million in pump station engineering and miscellaneous?
It is included in that $1 million. So if you look at page number 2, the $85,600, that's the $24,900 that we paid for having them update those plans so that we could get them through DEQ's process and approval and get it out to bid. And so the $85,600 includes the $60,700. So we're looking at that $1 million as a total cost.
So in that $900,000, there's construction costs.
Yes, the $900,000 is the construction.
All right. Thank you.
But again, clarification, we're not approving construction costs or anything tonight.
Right. This is just engineering. This is just engineering and the operations and maintenance manuals
And Lila, again, this is will funding come from urban renewal? Is that for?
Yes, actually, this
for the entire amount, or when we get to that?
That entire amount when we do the construction. So you'll see that come back.
And everything will be reimbursing you.
Right.
Okay.
It'll just be used out of that fund.
One more, Mr. Mayor, if I may. Do you have an estimated finish date on this, Lila?
Yes, we're aiming for December.
Thank you.
So, and it's a tight schedule, and we're moving quickly on it.
And do you have DEQ yet on this permit?
Yes, they have. I'm not sure that they've gotten back to us quite yet, but they reviewed the first set of plans.
Right.
And so we're right there.
But not the renewal ones yet?
Yeah, they're reviewing the renewal.
Okay. Great. So we're trying to just match those up time-wise. Okay. Any other questions? Yes? Yep, certainly.
Lila, how many gallons per minute is the pump that's in there now?
I think we're probably at, I would have to guess, but probably 8,000 gallons per minute. There's more than one pump. There's two pumps. And so what we're going to be doing is adding a third pump and building a new wet well. So I don't have that exact number in front of me for the gallons per minute, but this will serve all of the additional north end improvements, Lincoln Palisades, and the village's growth. All the new growth at that north end of town.
Got a lot of gallons.
Yeah.
We're dirty people up on there.
All the north end.
That
people,
Ward
right?
1? Ward 1, folks?
That's only the north end.
Up on the hill, Ward 1, okay, not the beach side.
Any other questions? Entertain a motion to approve?
So moved.
And a second?
Second.
We have a motion with a second. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed with a nay? Hearing none? Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Lila. We have Public Arts Committee.
Long time no see.
Different hat. The Public Arts Committee has had a proposal from Joanne Daschle to do a 2-by-3 foot piece that would be made from mosaic and some other kinds of glass. I have included in the packet some samples of prior works. This particular piece would be placed outside the Culinary Center doors. To the right on the wall, there's a fabric piece there now, but we can move it if we need to do that. And in keeping with the theme of the Culinary Center, she has put in a concept drawing, which is also in your packet, of a variety of root vegetables, and that concept would be what the mosaic, well, it's not a mosaic entirely, but what the glass art piece would be. The total cost of the piece will be $917, and those funds are available in the Public Arts Committee budget, which I believe next fiscal year, will have about $17,000 in it. So the Public Arts Committee is requesting that you approve their going forward with accepting this proposal from Joanne Daschle.
Any questions from council?
For me, Mr.
Good, please.
I am delighted to see it. I think it's great, and I can hardly wait until it's all built and put up on the wall.
We'll give you a call if you approve it, I mean.
Oh, conditions.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I would make a motion that we approve the Daschle piece.
I would second that.
We have a motion and a second to approve the public art piece recommended by the committee. Roll call, please.
Sprague.
Yes.
Quant.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Eggleton. Ellingson.
Yes.
And Norikis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Yes.
One other comment. I'm certainly looking forward to many more pieces of public art.
They have a variety of concepts that are going to come in front of you over the next few months, so they're working hard.
Excellent.
And now I promise that I will give you a call as soon as it's hung on the wall.
All right.
Sandy,
you.
while you're there, do you want to introduce the committee members that are here?
There they are. Sure. Come on up, guys. We have a couple of committee members here. One longtime member, Paul Mastrada, and the other is Bob Gibson, who recently was appointed to the committee, and they are actually here tonight doing some other work on another proposal that will come before you, I think, sometime in the next month or so. And Patty Cybers is here as well. She's currently the chair, and she's going to disappear as the chair next month. I guess she doesn't want to do it anymore, and I don't understand that. All that extra work for free? Can't talk her into it.
Now, are there still 5 members? Okay. So got to keep you guys at an odd number, as I recall, to, those votes. Again, an observation. I'm pleased particularly about a local artist, local being Lincoln County, Lincoln City in this case. So I'm real pleased with that. The other is that expanding the definition of public. It doesn't necessarily have to be out on the street or on a restroom or something to be public. So it fits a lot of criteria. You don't have to worry for me trying to match up to my taste because I don't have any, but I'll gladly support art that reinforces our community. So thank you. Anyone else that?
Thank you all for
Thank you
your
for your
work.
work, yeah.
Thank you.
All right. We have then presentation on the community center.
Gail Kimberling from the Lincoln City Community Center. That's okay, Gary. I'm going to leave, and they're going to talk. That's okay. They're going to talk. Good evening, Mayor and Council. I would like to introduce Carl McShane, who's our Recreation Supervisor, and Bonnie Stone, who's a Recreation Leader for our popular Rec Kids program. We're getting ready to transition from the after-school portion of the program into the summer day camp portion, which begins next Monday, or week from today, next Monday. And so they're here to tell you just a little bit about the program. Thank you for having us.
Right. So, as you said, I'm Carl McShane, Rec Program Supervisor, and we just want to explain to you a little bit about what we do up at our summer camp program. Our summer camp starts at 7:45 a.m. and runs to 6:30 p.m. Monday through Friday. We currently have 4 rec leaders that transition throughout the day. They will be taking many field trips throughout the town and actually throughout the county through this summer. And we get a lot of people that say they see them traveling, whether it be to the beach, whether it be to the museum. And we try and get them out as often as possible for the physical fitness, for the community involvement. And I'll let Bonnie talk about some of the things that they do.
Well, like Carl was saying, we like to introduce the children to the city, and which we're very proud of. There's so many businesses in this town that the kids don't know about and the parents don't know about, so once the kids learn about it, they go home and they teach the parents. So that's a good thing for us. Also, on July 23rd, we're coming to the City Hall. So I don't want all of you to call in sick on that day. We'll be here with probably between 30 and 40 children making our way around and with our guide, whoever that may be. And they'll be showing us how the city is run from this building. So a lot going on there. We also have a lot of different places we're going to name just a few. We have Kenny's IGA. He'll be taking us back to the backstage area where they pack things and do, the refrigerator and different things like that. So they'll be teaching the children how to do this. And while we go around to the town and the businesses, we are teaching them how to walk in a line, how to be safe, how to use their manners. And so there's a lot of a variety of things that are incorporated into our summer camp. So we're just excited. I'm so happy that you allowed us to come and share with us, or share with you of what we do.
Yeah. Last year we had about 130 unique children that have come to our program, and the summer camp really offers an opportunity to expand on who comes. We have families that are coming for just a week, and they want their kids to experience something, and they'll utilize the summer camp program because of the opportunities that the kids get to take. We had one last year that was a tour guide. He would bring his map as they were going and explain all the places that he had been, and so It's really a great opportunity, and we're hoping. Last year we averaged in the 30s per day for summer camp, and if the after-school program is any indicator, we're expecting to be between 40 and 50 this summer camp. So we've been in the upper 30s for probably the last month, I would say, and with the influx of people, we're hoping they'll utilize that as well. As Bonnie explained, we're trying to introduce the children to Lincoln City community, where they live and visit. Every year they take a trip down to the museum, learn a lot about the history of Lincoln City. They utilize our open space. They've taken some of the trips down Regatta to some of the trails.
Drift Creek Falls, Spring Lake. We've been around to all of them. So it's just a lot of fun. We incorporate scavenger hunts and different things, so the kids do learn as in a lot of different ways. So.
The other thing that we like to promote is that there aren't any 2 days the same, so the kids don't get bored. And we incorporate arts and crafts, physical activity, different games. There's movie nights. We work in conjunction with like the Bijou gives us a deal, so they go down and go bowling at the D Lake Bowling Alley. So, and we provide these calendars throughout the summer, so the visitors that are in can come take a look and say, hey, my child might be interested in that. So.
We will be going to the News Guard as well, and they'll be showing us around how the newspaper is made, so that's kind of cool.
And the other thing, as we mentioned, they literally do walk everywhere. There's lots of physical activity. Last year we had the opportunity to have some presentations by North Lincoln Fire. This year the Lincoln City Police Department will be doing a presentation. There's all kinds of opportunities.
Right. We have some hospital workers coming in, some local dentists coming in. So. We do want to mention that the program is accessible. Kids of all abilities. We're an open program that, and we won't decline anybody, unless there's some reason that it won't work with our program. We're handicap accessible, it's high quality, low cost, as you can see right here. We have, in comparison to some of the other camps that are in town, B'nai B'rith runs a camp, and theirs is, for the comparable hours, theirs is $150 a week, where ours is $85 for residents. So very cost efficient for the families trying to get some child care and some opportunities for the kids. One thing that we try and promote with the kids is the social aspect. The age range is from 5 to 11, so there's a wide group of children, and they learn how to socialize, how to compete in physical activities, but in good nature. They learn how to work together. Oftentimes the older kids are buddied up to help the younger kids. So, as far as our program's registration process goes, we are available to register online. You can go to lincolncity.org and go through the Community Center website, and you can register. We do ask that all people pre-register for the program. There's many different ways you can register. They can register by the half day, which is 5 hours or less, and that is $10 a day. Anything more than 5 hours is $20 a day, or they can register by the week for summer camp. So,
and that's a discounted value by going for the week. So we will be starting, like Gail had mentioned, next Monday, and we'll be going through the summer. And I guess that's another thing where we have an upper hand, I would say, on the other programs, is some of the other programs that are run here are 8-week programs, or they won't start until the 23rd of June, and they're stopping mid-August. So we're trying to offer, as much care as possible, and as much opportunity for the kids as possible.
So as soon as the school is let out, the following work day, we're open, and we are open clear up until the school starts. So that does add a benefit for those that need that.
That's great.
Do we have any questions?
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
A couple of questions. When you transport kids like to Drift Creek Falls, do you just get a school bus and do that?
Yes, we
kind of
do
wondered
have a
if I
school
could see
bus.
30 or 40 kids with about 15 vehicles trying to cram them all in.
Yeah, we go through Mid-Valley.
Mid-Columbia.
Or Mid-Columbia.
Uh-huh.
Another question was, what's the percentage of the kids that are visitors versus the locals?
I don't know the exact numbers, but I would say it's probably under 10%.
Okay. And then the cost is the same for the visitors' kids as well as the local kids, is that right?
So no, we have a resident discount and then non-resident. So the cost per day is the same, but the weekly is different.
Oh, okay. Thank you.
And to add to that, if I may, there was, just to give you just a real quick short story, there was a man that the only way that his daughter can come and visit him here in town is if there is a place for him. And so at the end of last summer, he gave us a present, and it was a nice present. It just because it touched his heart that his daughter could come and spend and know that she had a nice, safe, professional place to be. So
that's neat.
Yeah.
Other questions, Council? Yep, Justin.
How many staff personnel does this take to run the program?
So we have 4 summer camp staff personnel. So.
And are these additional staff just for the summer, or do they come from the community?
We have for summer, and actually, as far as if there's additional break, like spring break, we bring somebody on for spring break, winter break, where they're full days. So.
And you're anticipating 30 to 40 children per day?
Yes. That's what it's looking like. Yeah.
All right. Thank you.
Yep.
Could you go through a day schedule? You spent a lot of time about the adventures that go, but when somebody gets dropped off, just out of curiosity, how does someone spend their typical day?
Absolutely. I can let Bonnie hit on this one because she is up there every day.
When they come in and drop them off, if they drop them off in the morning before we've left on a hike, say, then they'll have some together time. We'll have a camp meeting. We'll go over what's expected during the day. We'll go over what we're going to be doing, and then we'll have a morning snack, of course, and then we'll do a group game, and our games are kind of extreme. We have, say, for instance, if it's water day, we'll have a giant slip and slide, and the kids will enjoy that. So it's like 2 really huge, two of the biggest tarps ever, and they're taped together, and the kids enjoy that. So, but we'll go into a group game. We'll do some together time, and then they'll have some individual time. And in that time, they'll have the opportunity to do a project, they'll have the opportunity to go do some typing, and they'll have the opportunity to maybe go to the big gym, and that's their individual time. Then we'll come back together, have some lunch, and then after that, we'll do probably another project activity or a hike. Then we go swimming at the community center, which we're very thankful for. But that would be if we're staying there. Now, On the days that we go on a hike, we'll leave like, say, 10:30, and we'll hike, we'll have it all planned out what we're doing. Like, there's a quest around town, we'll be doing that, and at the end, they'll get their prize after we've gone to all these different places, which also introduces them to the town businesses and whatnot. So, and then we'll usually get done with that at 1:30, which we go swimming. We'll come back, and then after swimming, of course, we'll be back by 4, and they'll have snack. And we're just very, very active all the time. So that's a typical day.
And that helps. Thank you. So it's full of activity. And now, when you go, are all 30 to 40 all together, or do you break into any separate age groups, or?
So generally, when they go, everybody is together, and anytime that they're out around town, there will be all four adults there. And so when they travel anywhere, they have one of the leaders in the front, one in the back, and then the other one's in the middle. So.
I appreciated this. Is this the marketing tool that then you put out to hotels and lodging facilities? These will be one, a portion of our marketing tools, and then we also do a big poster that we try and get around. We have one that we've done at Quality Printing, and so you are marketing at lodging, so it gives the parents kind of an option, or do they have to?
The places, some places that will take it,
right.
Yeah. So,
but certainly at the community center, this is advertised so that the parents can see what options. Good. Okay.
Yeah, and we also have some brochures that we
get around.
Yeah.
Great. So. Oh, that's terrific. Yes.
One other question: are there any kids that actually just do the whole summer?
Yeah, actually, we probably have, I want to say, close to 20 that do.
Yeah, I believe last year our core was 20 to 25.
For the whole summer?
The whole summer, and it's awesome.
Yeah. Wow, that's great.
And it's a lot of the same kids that utilize the after-school program. Mm-hmm. So, yeah.
That's great. It's a great service, and it's nice that we can provide that to the citizens. So, thank you. You're right, very affordable. Have you tied in at all, not to get, but I always worry about the food situation and someone not being able to bring their own food?
One thing, that's one thing I would like to look further into. In the past, there has been a food service. I believe it was the year before I got here, and the one thing that would become an issue is they travel so much, and you got to tote around the cooler or something that they're on the go so much that to plan a food delivery and everything is tough.
We do have peanut butter and bread there. We do carry other snacks as well, and the juice boxes. So if they don't have lunch, they don't go hungry. So we make sure they're fed. So.
Okay. Great. Any other?
Just one comment. I had the opportunity of having to visit my old shop quite a few times, and it was it's lots of fun. Any of the commercial people in town want to have them visit. They're really nice, well-mannered children, well-behaved, and it's just a lot of fun.
Good. Did you give them a donut?
Yes, they did.
Henry
had good times.
Those field trips that we took to Henry's, those will never be forgotten. He just started from scratch and made donuts right there with us, and we even got to put chocolate on them. We got to school. It was just awesome. Yeah. So thank you for that.
Nicely done. Thank you for sharing. Again, it's good timing, so we all know what's going on in the summer, and we can avoid the herd when we see you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Thank you both. All right, our next agenda item is public hearing, and this is to receive citizen comments on resolution number 2014-14, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues. This certainly needs a huge explanation for the public.
I was just going to comment. My two girls, when they were younger, went to the summer camp program, and it was such a benefit to me because I was working and my husband was working, and it was a great environment and just an awesome experience. So, every year, one of the revenue sources that is available to us comes from the state. It's called a state shared revenue, and there are some specific requirements in order to receive that. One of them is to hold a public hearing both with the Budget Committee and with the City Council to allow the public opportunity to speak on how those monies should be used. This year, we're getting about $115,000, and I think we've budgeted maybe $117,000 in the next year.
I'm sorry. I've got a ringing in one ear, and I cannot hear a thing you're saying.
Oh, I'm sorry. One of the revenue sources that we have from the state is called state shared revenues, and in order to receive that, every year we have to do a public hearing with the Budget Committee and also with City Council to allow the public an opportunity to talk about if we should receive those revenues or not and how we should spend them. This year we received about $115,000, and I think we've budgeted $117,000 in the next year's approved budget.
Could you remind us what goes into revenue sharing? What comprises that we're sharing?
My understanding is the liquor tax revenue is distributed in two ways. One is a liquor tax formula that they use, and the other is this state sharing formula.
Okay. Any questions of staff? Okay. Let me just ask if there's any public that wants to testify on us receiving, the city receiving shared revenue from the state. Any agencies, other public entities? Seeing none. Take a motion to close the public hearing.
So moved.
Seconded.
All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Hearing none. Any other questions, discussion on that? Hearing none, we'll move to the next public hearing and open the public hearing to receive citizens' comment on resolution number 2014-16, a resolution of the City of Lincoln City adopting the 2014-2015 budget.
Mayor, how much presentation would you like on this? Very brief, or medium?
Very brief. I would think, because again, this council has been through the budget committee process, and that was 2 days, so
okay.
There may be some questions. So again, more for the public at large.
I'll just do a couple minutes then. Of course, we did have budget committee meetings on May 5th and May 19th, and those are available streaming video on our website, so you can review the whole presentation if you'd like. There's a few major changes this year in the budget. 80% of the property tax that used to be allocated to a renewal will return to the general fund, or will go to the general fund, rather. The annexation of Rhodes End is essentially complete, and we will now receive 85% of our regular tax, of the regular tax levy that the rest of the city pays. And the reduction in our general fund balance that came about due to the purchase of the village of the Cascade Head, that's largely being made up. We're restored to very healthy fund balance at the end of this coming budget year. We've actually gained quite a bit this year, and we'll gain the rest next year. We have I'd say overall our 30-some funds are financially sound. Every one is sound for the coming budget year. The future looks a little bit shaky for the street fund after that period of time. So we have some work cut out for us to figure out how to deal with that in the future after this coming budget year. We have 1.3 more city employees in the projected budget. It's still below the full-time equivalent count of 2010 and 11. The new positions are a half-time ADA coordinator. That's the largest single change. Capital projects, just real quick, $150,000 in unspecified ADA improvements. That's waiting on an evaluation of the inventory of deficiencies that we've got and a lot of citizen input, and I'd like to talk about that a little bit later. $200,000 towards the purchase of a Taft School property, elevator replacement, $250,000, $2.4 million in water capital, 1.6 in sewer capital, 1.6 million in sewer capital, $1,058,000 in street capital. That includes $175,000 directly towards roads and gravel, streets, and drainage. Total of $6,600,000 in capital expenditures. That's pretty aggressive. We don't expect to necessarily complete all of that, but the climate is still good. Prices are good. People need the work. Contractors need the business, so we're going to go for it. We'll end the year with about $9 million in fund balances, contingency, and reserves, so we're pretty solid. The major issue that will face us in the future, as I mentioned, is street funding, how we're going to fund and build a replacement for the police department. We have a number of senior staff coming up to retirement. That's always an issue, or will now be an issue, rather. A lot of planning projects on the books for next year, pretty aggressive, and of course the capital projects. So it's a budget that I'm proud of, and I believe the Budget Committee made changes that were quite beneficial, and I'd recommend approval. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Rucker. I'd like to remind Council what those changes were that came out of the Budget Committee, and one of them was moving $20,000 out of capital to materials for the villages. We increased the workforce housing fund from $15,000 to $30,000. There was a reduction in some estimated software costs for timekeeping that affected a couple of appropriate departments of some $22,500. Also increased the Regatta Park playground equipment by some $50,000, and added some more, roughly $4,000 to relocation and recruitment costs in the VCB arena. And I think, again, a little reminder of budgets, why budgets are so important to the audience. They're certainly an early indication of how things are, where revenue is, but more importantly, the work that's anticipated. As Mr. Hawker indicated, the capital projects are an indication of what the forecasts are that need to be done, but again, reminding the audience that just because they're in the budget doesn't mean they're approved. There's still a process that goes through to, the council has to approve those projects. There's also an increase in, projected increase in sewer and water that would officially need to be approved by council. And that's not by way of approving the budget. And then the other, which was an interesting, the discussion about actually a reduction in some tax, the occupancy tax on, I guess the appropriate way would be a single rental.
Single long-term rental.
Single long-term rental.
If a owner owned a single family home that was monthly or longer rented, currently they owe a $100 occupation tax. I'd like to have council consider removing that, which is a reduction of about $32,000, $33,000 in revenue, offset partially, I would recommend, by an increase in the remainder of the tax on other businesses. We haven't done that in 2002, I believe. We had that last increase, and I've recommended that we increase the $100 to $110. But again, that will be an ordinance that council will need to consider, and if it's not passed, it won't happen.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
That's a separate ordinance, right?
Oh, yeah. It would take separate action.
Yes.
Yeah, because I did just a tiny bit of investigation relative to that, and I'd like to make a comment at the appropriate time.
We're not going to do that
I know.
tonight. Okay, yeah, back when we look at that ordinance, is that what you're
just
talking about?
If I don't mention something, then I forget it, so I'm
Write it
trying to
down.
reinforce it in my mind, and I will write it down also.
All right. So that's what, I'm just trying to remind not only ourselves, but the public at large, that what goes on in a budget committee, and again, advertisement for members of the budget committee. That budget committee consists of this council along with 7 citizens that are appointed, and this last year we only had 5, and it's not because anybody was turned down, nobody else applied, and we had 2 meetings. They're always easy to figure out what your obligations are. It's the month of May and 2 meetings, and disappointingly, the second meeting, only 3 of those 5 citizens showed up. So if you want to know what's really going on in the city, you could sit in the audience all you want and watch TV or internet, but an early jumpstart is join the budget committee and get to understand the revenue and expenses and the projected capital expenditures and in a budget. And so that's the plug. Any other comments or thoughts? This is a public hearing. So at this point, I would invite any public comments from the public at large. Seeing none, check with other agencies or public entities. Seeing none.
Move to close the public hearing.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to close the public hearing. All those in favor, say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, with a nay. Hearing none. Moving on then to city manager reports.
Thank you, Mayor. I'll probably be 10 minutes overall on this. Charter Communications, we've received verbal notification, and I have subsequently received a letter from Charter Communication outlining several changes which concern me somewhat. One is that Charter is planning to go to all digital service, and they tout that as being a step towards better product, meaning that there's more channels that will be available. They can use their bandwidth more effectively when they get rid of the analog portion of their broadcast. So I understand the reason for that. What I don't necessarily like about it is it's going to require every TV set connected to Charter, every TV set in the home to have a cable box, which you have to pay for. So those that have basic service and one TV, who may be feeling like it's getting pretty expensive anyway, will have an additional expenditure for the cable box. Now, I believe they'll offer free boxes for a period of time, a year or more, depending on your level of service, and then you'll start paying for it. So the cable bill is going to go up. I don't think we have any control on that. I would like to see them make more arrangements for at least the basic service people who might be scraping together to afford the cable service. The other thing they want to do is, or at least they announced they were going to do, and I objected to it, was move Channel 4, Lincoln City, which is what we're broadcasting on right now, to a high number. And also Channel 21, which is our other channel, which we allow to be used for educational and arts. I don't care that much about Channel 21, but I think Channel 4 has been a long-standing means of us communicating with the public, and it's in our franchise that we're entitled to Channel 4. So at any rate, it's going to come up as we renegotiate the franchise. In the meantime, I've written to them and told them I object to giving up Channel 4, certainly at least without hearing a proposal from them on how we would rebrand that. So along the lines of Charter, I'm going to ask the city attorney to comment on the franchise status in general and what we might be looking forward to as far as how we get a new franchise. Richard?
As you recall, we adopted an ordinance, or you adopted an ordinance maybe a month ago, extending the franchise to December. And the reason why we did that is we retained a law firm to represent us. They represent several other entities that are negotiating with charters. So at this point, we've turned it over to them, and we're looking at making a proposal and should have something back for you in a month or so.
Interesting.
Okay.
A question. Mr. Hawker, you said we don't have any control over that. If we opted not to approve a renewal of the franchise, what do they do?
Well, first of all, that's not a question for me, and I'm not sure that it's fair for Richard to have to answer that right now, because I think it gets pretty convoluted.
Well, we brought their franchise back into compliance because they were out of compliance. We did an amendment last year to extend them, and then we did another amendment just recently. When they are out of compliance, they can continue to operate so long as they continue to pay us. So it's not that immediately, we're going to take all their facilities out of our right-of-way. And so I don't have the agreement in front of me, but we'd have a process to go through if we're going to, renegotiate. But at this point, they're just not reapproving their franchise isn't going to automatically require them the next day to pull everything out of the roadway.
It just sounds like they can pretty much dictate what they want us to go along with. And
We've largely been preempted. And the last major stroke on that was probably about 7 or 8 years ago. They petitioned the FCC that Lincoln City could no longer regulate basic service because there was then, quote, effective competition, meaning the satellite providers. And the FCC agreed with them, and that removed our last vestige of any kind of control on pricing. And even at that point, we had little control, but we did have some control on basic service. So, for the most part, the federal government has preempted state and local government from doing much in this regard. We have some opportunity, not a lot.
Can another cable company
Yes.
come in competition?
Yeah, they can, but from a practical standpoint, the cost of stringing all the wires, all the fiber, and I believe, and I don't think this is something we want to talk about until Richard would have a chance to look into it, but I think I think we could terminate the contract or the franchise with Charter and open it up for someone else who would have to pay for that equipment. Mm-hmm. So nobody's out there that's going to do that. This is practically a monopoly. There's Comcast, there's Charter. Look real hard to see anybody else in this.
All I can tell you is I'm not a telecom franchise expert, but we hired one. So I'll be looking to her to make some recommendations. And although cable companies certainly argue that the federal preemption a lot, it seems to be their favorite word, it's not as expansive as they oftentimes make it out to be. They lost a significant case a couple of years back when I was in Ashland, and so we've got, some leverage.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
A question, though. I know broadcast stations were under an edict to go to the digital by the FCC by a certain date, and they could still transmit in analog for a while, but they had to have their broadcast being done in digital. Is this just a furtheration of that? Where the cable companies, I don't know where the FCC drew the line and said, okay.
I don't know.
I think I don't know whether or not it's similar to that earlier broadcast decision, but our obvious concern is that there's some transition or some assistance to customers that will then be forced to have to purchase cable boxes, as David alluded to, and so we can certainly bring that to their attention and see if there's some phasing in some period of time when there's no charge. So we'll work with them on that.
I had another comment.
Sure, go ahead.
Also, along that line, if in fact we can work that part of it out, a lot of the older television sets that are in people's homes can't handle the higher numbers, period.
Well, they will be. I believe they will be able to with a cable box.
No, they don't. We have one of those.
All it needs to do is get Channel 4, and it can get every other station.
Well, you can get Channel 4, but it really doesn't allow. They don't have the. Okay. Internally, they don't have the ability to do that. So that, my point was, the Channel 4. That's.
Well, we're trying to.
Yeah. Anyway.
A couple more items. Many of our customers, our water customers, are getting a letter from a company called HomeServe, and we will put this out in a press release this week, and it's on our website now. They offer a form of insurance coverage for water lines between the meter and the home. I want to make it clear that the City of Lincoln City is not affiliated with this company. It's called HomeServe. We do not recommend, we do not endorse the insurance coverage for HomeServe, what they're offering. The Better Business Bureau has received 303 complaints against HomeServe in the past 3 years. The Oregon Attorney General's Office has received 79 complaints against HomeServe since 2011. I also indicate that a close reading of what they mailed to me, at least, indicates that they'll repair or replace your water service line. I'm guessing in most cases that's going to be a repair, and that's generally not going to be extremely expensive. So people need to do their own research. I'm just throwing that out, that we're not endorsing that company. You might notice, the public might notice the new format for the agenda and the packet that's on the website. And hopefully this will look the same whether you have Adobe Reader 8, 9, 10, 11, or something future yet to come, or Adobe Professional, or whatever. And it's not quite as nice as far as I'm concerned, but it is a media that I believe that most people won't have to complain about not being able to use. A reminder to the council that you want to appoint a committee to look at the charitable donations that we make. We're still looking. Why don't you do this? We're okay on time, I think. Mm-hmm. We're still looking for people citizens to participate in the ADA Project Advisory Team. And I could read this, but I think it'd be more interesting to have you just talk about it.
Okay, I think we've talked about this a little bit before. Basically, the Project Advisory Team is one of the ways that we'll get community involvement, but this is through kind of a committee or an advisory team. And what they're involved in is assisting the city with creating its final transition plan. So as you know, we have a bunch of data now in a computer that needs to now be prioritized and put into a transition plan so that the city can do short and longer range planning for the future of how we're going to make our facilities and streets, et cetera, barrier-free for people with disabilities. So one of the ways that we're gathering that information is through this group of people, the Project Advisory Team. We have 4 members currently.
and we'd like more. So I think that's what Mr. Hawker was getting at, is he wanted to be sure that the public knew that we are still taking applications, we are still interested in having people participate. And also I'll say that if people don't want to participate as a member of the project advisory team, there's other ways to give us information. They can contact me by phone, email, etc. So my phone number is 541-996-1201. My name is Heather Arce Torres, and my email is difficult. It's HARCE-TORRES@lincolncity.org. You can come by the information desk. You can check in at the library. You can turn it in wherever you want. It will find its way to me. So, yeah.
And the level of disability, it doesn't have to necessarily be a mobility question, does it?
No. There's all kinds of different disabilities that people may have. We do have some visually impaired members on our project advisory team, which is great, so we get that perspective. Hearing, mobility, psychological, all kinds of different things are disabilities.
And they don't have to be disabled to be on the committee.
Right, exactly. No, and we do have members that are not personally themselves disabled, although I think we all know somebody who, has some difficulty with access. So we can probably all speak to that a little bit.
Heather, could you expand on what the expectation of a committee member is? Are they going to be walking the street and looking at your list of data and prioritizing, or does that get done once a month in a big room? What would these people be doing?
Well, so we have our committee led by our consultant, Barbara Thorpe from DAC, and really what the primary purpose is to hear from people who live every day experiencing our facilities, experiencing our sidewalks, experiencing our streets. What is bothering them? What is a priority for them? We are not going to ask them to wade through all of the data, although we will bring some examples so that people can see what the data looks like. But there is literally, hundreds of thousands of photographs in there. And so we aren't going to print it out. We aren't going to give them access, but we are going to show it. But really what we're trying to hear is, what do you experience? What bothers you? What bothers your family members? What bothers the people you know? Where do you have difficulty? Even we've heard from people who are working with a stroller or carrying groceries and where they have barriers. So obviously if someone pushing a stroller has a barrier, then a wheelchair is going to have a barrier there. So we just want to hear what is hard for you, what is difficult, what should we be prioritizing based on your personal experience. And we'll just consider that with all the other prioritization we're making about cost and when other things are being done, so it makes sense to do this thing. We'll be considering all those things, but while we're doing that, we want to consider what the public has to say.
Great.
I wanted to emphasize that because we really need that participation. We've got money set aside in the budget that's going to sit there until we do some prioritization and make those recommendations to council. And all of our capital, not all, many of our capital projects have dollars in them for ADA improvements. We offer a wide range of service. If people have difficulties taking advantage of that service because of a disability, we want to know. We want to make our services and our programs available as widely as possible. So I'm going to keep pushing this until...
we need to. We need to keep bringing it up.
And that's been a council directive, and staff is trying to step up to the plate and honor that.
Thank you, Mr. Hawker.
Thank you, Heather.
And finally...
I think
I'm
Mr.
sorry.
Sprague has...
How often do you meet?
Well, we've only met once so far, and then we were kind of waiting to see if the ADA coordinator was appointed, and I think some of us feel that perhaps it makes more sense to have an ADA coordinator before we get too far along in the process. So my guess is we'll meet one more time before we hire an ADA coordinator, and then probably not meet again until after. But we've only met once so far.
My only concern was that somebody might think it's just too many meetings and that sort of thing, so it really isn't that many. And
no, we were hoping to do 6
in the year process we had, but we have so far, not done that yet.
Good.
But it won't be too many meetings. Hopefully it will be 6.
Thank you.
Thanks.
Thank you. We need to talk about some land use decisions that one for sure will be coming to the City Council and another one might be, and they're both pretty significant issues. One is the Logan Park annexation that will be coming to City Council, and we expect a lot of interest based on what we've seen so far, a lot of interest from the surrounding community. And the other one is Lincoln Palisades Phase 3, or we're going to stop calling it Phase 3 pretty soon, but it's the additional development of Lincoln Palisades that may be coming to council, most likely will be if it's appealed, or if council wishes to review it on their own initiative. I'm going to say each of these could probably take 2 hours overall, and many of the people that have an interest in these, or at least an opposition to these, or concern about these, are the same people. So it would be kind of nice to have those, if possible, at one meeting. Either one of those is going to make a regular council meeting very difficult. So I'd like to see if maybe council would be willing to call a special meeting just for those two, at least one, if not both. And with that, Richard, are you going to speak to potential dates?
In talking to Mr. Townsend, I think the August 25th date is probably the best date. I believe that's a regular council meeting date.
Also, we'll stay till what, 2 a.m. roughly?
Yeah, that would be good.
Is there an alternative to 2 a.m.?
Well, the thought was we could move the regular council meeting because the August 25th date seems to sync with the deadlines for action. So,
couldn't do it a week earlier?
I believe we could do it a week earlier, the 25th.
It's not recommended?
Yeah.
It's the 25th or nothing, pretty much? So I can't tell you right now whether we could have a very light agenda on the 25th or whether we would need a special meeting to make up some items. It's too far out for me to predict that.
And I guess an option might be to start earlier in the day, late afternoon or something.
A regular, well, it would have to be a special meeting in any event then. Yeah. Because I think, aren't our meeting times set by ordinance? They're not.
I think it's...
Well, whatever your pleasure, we'll figure out a way to make it happen.
So what you're anticipating, though, and granted it's far out there are ways that those two topics would consume the whole meeting agenda. And
well, the site plan review meeting, which was just a cursory sketch of Palisades, took 2 hours.
Mr. Mayor?
Yeah.
What is the objection to the 18th for a special meeting?
Principally, I'm assuming that the Planning Commission meeting, which was scheduled for the 15th of July, or we're planning on scheduling for the 15th of July, will be continued probably till August 5th. In other words, they won't get through it all, get through both of them in one night. So we'll have to have more on August 5th. Then there's a period when we have to do, people have 10 days after the decision to file their notice of appeal. Then there needs to be a period of time in which to actually respond, prepare a response to whatever appeal comes in. The 18th would be pushing it pretty hard.
Could the Planning Commission meet earlier than, was that 3 weeks between meetings?
We have 3 weeks between meetings.
Could they use maybe one of those 3 weeks for a second meeting?
could meet the 29th. Actually, they could meet the 22nd or the 29th, I think. There's a question about the availability of the planning director on the 22nd. So.
Part of it has to do with, in quasi-judicial meetings, and any participant can request the record be left open or for continuance, and then we have to do either one or the other for no less than 7 days. And then the applicant has the right to submit final written argument, which can add another 7 days. So we'd be 2 weeks out from the 15th, just if someone makes those requests.
It sounds, Mayor, like the 25th is it. And what we'll do, if it's all right with council, is we'll try to lighten up that agenda as much as possible to just a few items that might be, take the presentations off and so on. And maybe we can limit the regular session to an hour, and the rest can be these two items.
Sounds good.
And if we need a special meeting, we'll ask council if you'll consider calling one.
We normally or frequently have an urban renewal meeting at 5 o'clock. Why couldn't we just schedule a special meeting at 5 o'clock and work them in if we can?
I think Kathy's kind of trying to...
I have this might help. The City Council shall hold a regular meeting at least once a month. The regular meeting of the City Council may be held on the second and fourth Mondays of each month at 6 o'clock. So
it would be a special meeting. You'd have two meetings, a special meeting followed by,
We can have our regular meeting on a different day in August, and we can have this as a special meeting if, in fact, it works, given the timing of...
Right. Could we have our regular meeting a week prior to the 25th and then have the special meeting on the 25th?
Kind of my initial suggestion is on the 18th we have the regular
meeting.
I know it does. It makes staffs turn around on stuff, but it gives us basically.
Well, we've got all of July to decide if we need a special meeting of council. Yeah. So I guess what I'm suggesting is that we do one or two of these, if there's two, on the 25th of August, and I guess we can figure out a way to start that meeting earlier if you'd like, at 5.
Yeah, I think we can. That would be. Gary would be game for that.
And if it was just a couple brief other agenda items, we just include them, and if there isn't, we'll call for a special council meeting. Is that okay with council?
Yeah.
Yep.
Yes.
Okay. We got a plan.
I think the message is, being August, and not knowing if anybody takes vacation, but try to block that one. If you could be around, it would be helpful.
And these, maybe as a reminder from our attorney, are these quasi-judicial? Do we have any?
We have the same restrictions we need to avoid any ex parte communications. So, an abundance of caution, always avoid any ex parte communications. If you do get communications, send them directly to the planning department so that they're entered into the record. Okay. We make decisions here based on the evidence that's presented, not what you get caught out in the parking lot somewhere.
Great. Okay.
Okay.
Thank you.
Mayor, that's all I had. Thank you.
Mr. Rucker, I guess, and you can tell me if during the communication piece, the digital, and that reminded me of, have you, a Verizon issue, has that reached your desk, or it seems the public, I'm not sure what the issue is and what we can do or not do, but Verizon seems to be
the only information I have on that is, well, first of all, there was time, I believe during spring break, when there was an inordinate amount of time that people waited for a dial tone. And that could have been like 15 seconds or it could have been 2 minutes. And waiting 15 seconds is a long time for a dial tone. What I understand is that they were just simply being overloaded, and that's going to occur more and more frequently, certainly as we get into the summer season. I believe they're trying to expand their capabilities and are having difficulty getting permission for some addition. Richard, do you want to speak briefly about this? or what you know, or what we think we know.
Or somebody want a cell tower in their backyard? Or
I don't know.
As I understand it, the existing cell tower at the north end of town, they want to, they've come in and submitted for necessary building permit to expand their facility on that tower. The property owner has instructed us, as he has the right to do, not to issue any building permits without his signature. And he has not signed anything on this. And as I understand it, it's negotiations between the property owner and the cell provider. So once that gets resolved, he'll sign off and we'll be able to then issue the permits.
So, well, the city's name is being brought into this, but only as an instrument which we have no choice in.
Yeah. That's what I wanted to get out there. Thank you.
So we've been always very cooperative with Verizon, and Verizon's always been very cooperative with us. We have a lease for them to occupy a relay on our 17th and Orr site. It's not a cell tower, but it's a relay that's useful. They installed an emergency generator to back up all our facilities and so on. We've had a very cooperative relationship with them. This is not an issue between Verizon and the city.
Okay. Sounds good. Mr. Appicello, anything for us?
Some ordinances.
Oh, let's move to those then.
Yeah.
You know, it's exciting stuff. Let's ordinance number 2014-10. This is second reading.
Before I read the ordinance, I just want to apologize. There's a mistake in the council communication. I had made a change to the ordinance after I wrote the council communication, and it didn't get corrected on the council communication. So in the reason why this was delayed, again, this is the cottage cluster development ordinance. The reason why this was delayed is there was a question whether or not the Building Codes Division would have a problem with the language that we had set forth. I read that language last time. I'm not going to read it again. They have not responded indicating there's a problem. In the interim, the building inspector had, and I sent this link to you, sent you some manufactured dwelling link that showed the kind of development, quality development that would meet the residential code, not just the standard that we had crafted. So I really don't feel that there's any problem whatsoever with the language. However, in the interim, the city manager pointed out that he had concerns about stormwater, and specifically the fact that this development type would allow exemptions to some of the standards, including lot coverage. And so I looked at the language in the ordinance, and I crafted some language and ran it by the engineering and planning department. And this is in section 1780-120 F11C. And I happened to be in that section and noticed that in both C and E there was an incorrect reference to a subsection. I've corrected that. It's now reads subsection F1 instead of what it said before was H. So there was a typographical error. But the added language now states, notwithstanding the exception for maximum lot coverage above, if the coverage standard for the underlying district is exceeded, the cottage cluster project shall utilize innovative design techniques, for example, bioswales and pervious concrete, to retain stormwater on site and provide for water quality treatment before discharge. Such stormwater treatment methods are subject to approval of the city engineer. Again, the concern was we were doubling the density and allowing flexibility in that they could exceed the maximum lot coverage, which most of the time is like 35%. And since we were waiving that, we needed to make sure that we weren't creating too much impervious surface that didn't address the proper water quality as well as, volume for stormwater. So the recommendation is that with the correction of the two cross-reference changes in this language, that we approve second reading. I'll do the second reading, and then you can discuss it. Ordinance 2014-10, second reading. An ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code, Title 17, zoning, amending the list of permitted uses in the following zoning districts: Chapter 1716 R1, Chapter 1720 RM, Chapter 1740 RR, amending Chapter 1780, provisions applying special uses, adding a new section 1780-120 relating to cottage housing developments.
I would move that we approve or accept ordinance number 2014-10 with the
wastewater correction.
The stormwater.
Stormwater.
So this would be approval of second reading and adoption of the ordinance.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion and a second. Discussion? Any questions for the changes? Okay. Roll call, please.
Sprague?
Yes.
Quant?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yep.
Eggleton? Ellingson?
Yes.
And Norikis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we have ordinance number 2014-14.
Your Honor, this is first reading of an ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code, Title 4, Real Property, Chapter 4.04, Acceptance of Real Property Interest relating to delegation of authority to the city manager to renew intergovernmental agreements and execute certain real property leases. As you recall, last year we did some delegation in the real property realm, authorizing the city manager to accept easements that were dedicated to the city, as well as some other delegation issues. This is just a follow-on to that, the authorization to renew an intergovernmental agreement. Again, not a new intergovernmental agreement, but to renew one, and mostly providing that the agreement contemplates some kind of renewal and that the terms haven't changed, or that the terms, like there's an escalator in the rent or something, are built into the agreement. And also to execute real property leases. Leases by statute have to be approved by order or ordinance, and if you delegate to the city manager some of the routine leases like we do they typically appear on your consent agenda, the Drift Creek downstairs. Some of those, they're very standard lease agreements, and we've been kind of adopting a standard form and just following through in all our leases. So this doesn't mean that the city manager can't bring it to your attention if he would like to bring it to your attention, but you're just not required to. Again, that's the request would be to approve first reading, and either, if it's unanimous, go on to second reading, or set second reading for June 23rd. Your choice.
Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I move we adopt ordinance 2014-14.
Second.
We have a motion to approve with a second. Discussion. I might point out that on page 4E, there is a provision of notification to council on an annual basis of any of these leases that get renewed, so there would be a reporting mechanism to to the council of what leases actually get handled.
Can I ask, this was motion to approve first reading, right?
First reading, yes.
Any other comments, discussion, questions? Roll call, please.
Norikis?
Yes.
Sprague?
Yes.
Quant?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Eggleton? And Ellingson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Your Honor, this is second reading of ordinance 2014-14, an ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code, Title 4, Real Property, Chapter 4.04, Acceptance of Real Property Interests relating to delegation of authority to the city manager to renew intergovernmental agreements and to execute certain real property leases. Ask for approval of second reading and adoption of the ordinance.
I would move to approve the second reading and adopt the ordinance 214-14.
Second.
We have a motion and a second. Any questions, discussion? Roll call, please.
Quant.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Eggleton. Ellingson.
Yes.
Norikis.
Yes.
And Sprague.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we have ordinance number 2014-15.
Your Honor, this is first reading of an ordinance amending the Lincoln City Municipal Code, Title III, Revenue and Finance, adding a new Chapter 302, City of Lincoln City Finance Policies, adding a new Section 3.02010, Tax Exempt Bond Post-Issuance Compliance Policy, relating to establishing city policies and procedures to ensure compliance with federal law when a tax-exempt bond has been issued. Your Honor, I'd ask for approval of first reading, and if you'd like, set the ordinance for second reading on June 23rd. This ordinance essentially, although I moved it around some and put it in ordinance form, essentially came from bond counsel. Ron Tierney is just basically behind it, and it's their recommendation. According to Ron, we do everything in this ordinance now. It's just that we'd like to make sure that it continues to get done, and bond counsel recommended we adopt the policy, and I recommended that we put it in an ordinance and adopt it, so nobody loses
So
it.
can the city manager go to jail if it's not done? Is that what this is?
Yes, that's exactly my intent.
In the small print. That'll be in the second reading.
Yeah.
Mr. Mayor, I would move that we accept first reading of ordinance number 2014-15 and set up second reading for June 23rd.
Typically, you allow receipt of written comments the Wednesday before, and for some reason, I don't know the date.
What he said.
I'll second that.
Discussion. We have a motion and a second on approving that first reading. Roll call, please.
Just to confirm, it was to include the language for the cutoff on Wednesday?
Yes.
Wednesday at noon.
Okay, thanks. Sprague?
Yes.
Quant?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Eggleton? Ellingson?
Yes.
And Norikis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. And if we move to resolutions, we have a resolution number 2014-13, a resolution authorizing and directing budget transfers for the city of Lincoln City, Oregon in the 2013-2014 fiscal year budget. This typically, as you can see, is the looking ahead to year end being the end of this month and adjusting dollars, moving them to match up. Any questions, concerns?
Mr. Mayor, I move that we adopt the transfer budget request.
Resolution, all right.
Yes,
Resolution.
I don't have the number.
Oh, Resolution 2014-13.
Second.
We have a motion and a second to approve the resolution. Any discussion? Roll call, please.
Norikis?
Yes.
Sprague?
Yes.
Quant?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Eggleton? And Ellingson?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Then we have a resolution 2014-14, a resolution declaring the city's election to receive state revenues.
I would move we adopt Resolution 2014-14.
Second.
We have a motion to approve with a second.
Approved.
Roll call, please.
Quant?
Yes.
Anderson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Eggleton? Ellingson?
Yes.
Norikis?
Yes.
And Sprague?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. And we have Resolution 2014-15, a resolution implementing public contracting delegation authorized in ordinance 2013-15 for the 2014-2015 fiscal year.
So move that we adopt Resolution 2014-15.
I'll second it.
We have a motion with a second. Any further discussion? Hearing none. Roll call, please.
Sprague.
Yes.
Quant.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Eggleton. Ellingson.
Yes.
And Norikis.
Yes.
Motion carries.
And we have Resolution 2014-16, adopting the budget.
I'm trying to somewhat.
Somebody,
Mr. Mayor, I move that we approve Resolution 2014-16.
Second.
we have a motion and a second to approve the budget. All those, or any further discussion?
Actually, Your Honor, I guess we're adopting the budget, aren't we, rather than approving it?
Adopting the budget, right. Thank you. Roll call, please.
Norikis.
Yes.
Sprague.
Yes.
Quant.
Yes.
Anderson.
Yes.
Ryan.
Yes.
Eggleton. And Ellingson.
Yes.
Motion carries.
Thank you. Could we, at this point, before we go to the next resolution, assign the subcommittee, typically on the outside agencies, funding now that the budget's been approved, it has a dollar amount, and ask three of you to perhaps get together and make decisions based on, or recommendations back to the council. Chester, you've, in the past, headed that up. Is that still something you could do?
Yes.
And two others that might be interested and available, typically two meetings, an hour or so?
No, it's one meeting.
One meeting for, no more than an hour, 2 hours.
I would do it.
So Chester and Roger and one more, and Wes?
Yeah.
That'd be great. And Chester will get in touch with you then, and you just
Right.
make a recommendation back to the council as a whole. Thank you, gentlemen. Resolution number 2014-17, a resolution of the City of Lincoln City adopting an application fee permit as detailed in Section 12.16.015 of the Lincoln City Municipal Code.
And, Your Honor, I believe it's an application form.
Yeah, I thought it was too.
Form, not a fee.
So an application form. Gotcha. Thank you for the correction. Take a motion?
Move that we adopt Resolution 2014-17.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
We have a motion to approve with a second. Any discussion?
Discussion, please, Your Honor.
Certainly.
Oh, go ahead.
When we had our discussion, we talked about automatic renewals, and I didn't see anything in all the form where it even spoke to that. And I think that for automatic renewals for ongoing projects that are not impacting the services.
So,
I think Sandy agreed to that. When we
well,
were
this
talking about
is a
this is the
part.
full-
Yeah.
This is, if you read the form, it came off. This is parks, and this is your Easter egg hunt.
Pardon?
This is your Easter egg hunt issue.
That and other ongoing activities such as that.
So I guess there was discussion. I don't know that there was agreement, so now we can have some further discussion. How would you renew ongoing, because I can greatly remember that Easter doesn't always happen on the same day.
That's true.
So how could it be ongoing, other than a staff person needs to remember that you, the Quantas, might want to do something? Why can't you fill out a form that reminds staff?
Because we've never had to fill out a form in the past.
Good. Welcome
if you really want to know.
Welcome to the rest of us.
I can add that staff is going to be sitting down and talking about fees. I think it was mentioned in the staff report. And so when we sit down and talk about fees, we can talk about whether or not there would be a simplified renewal form that might, help out with what you're thinking.
That's what we talked about.
Well, I think we talked about a streamlined process rather than an automatic process.
Okay, maybe I used the wrong term, but I didn't see anything about a streamlined process, so I thought that maybe we should just mention that.
Frankly, we had some struggle to get this on the agenda for the basic application. We'll work on a renewal form, bring it back.
Okay.
Chester, question?
I'd just like to point out that in number 5 on the form, I believe it is, applicant agrees to display or have readily available the use permit, and I think that's a great answer, Mr. Sprague, to your request regarding not having to post it. As long as you have it readily available, that will seem to suffice. I appreciate that, staff including that. And I'm looking at number 9. It is understood that the organization, group, or individual is adequately insured for the nature and duration of the activity to be undertaken, and the proof of insurance will be provided to the community center director when required. I'm wondering if we might strike when required, Mr. Appicello? I mean, I should think that they would have to provide proof of insurance to the community center director at all times.
I think it's when insurance is required.
Okay.
So there's sometimes when insurance simply won't be required for certain activities.
All right. Thank you.
Other questions? Thank you, gentlemen, for looking at that. So there's a motion with a second on approving the form as is, and with a commitment to come back to you with looking at some options down the road. Roll call, please.
Sprague?
Yes.
Quant?
Yes.
Henderson?
Yes.
Ryan?
Yes.
Hagelton? Ellingson?
Yes.
And Norikis?
Yes.
Motion carries.
Great. Thank you. This will be a time for other public comments. End of the evening. Seeing none. How about councilors? Wes? Any?
I have nothing earth-shattering to say tonight.
No Theater West?
No.
Plug?
Well, I mean, we can always plug Theater West. No, it's. I just don't have much to say tonight.
Okay, that's good. Gary?
No, thank you. I had asked Wes to be my mouthpiece this evening.
Okay.
I don't know if he'll agree to do that on a continuing basis, but seeing he doesn't have anything, I don't have anything.
Good. Mr. Norikis?
Nothing, Your Honor.
Roger?
Just one thing.
Okay.
This is housekeeping more than anything else. We have chairs back here that squeak.
Yes.
And, sometimes it blocks out something that you're trying to hear. And I was wondering if we just couldn't maybe have maintenance, do some maintenance on the, hear that?
Henry's chair, or Chester's chair is especially naughty.
Now, gentlemen, just a little bit ago, you approved a budget. I don't remember seeing that item in the budget. We went through it thoroughly, so, maybe in another year?
Maybe next year.
I'd be glad to give up just a little bit of the city council budget if we could do that. In fact, you could even take care of it in our budget.
I think Lila heard what you said, and she directs building maintenance. So we'll see if a little lubrication will
take a little out of our salary.
Yeah.
Thank you.
That's all I've got.
All right. Gordy, nothing. You're quiet this evening. Henry?
No comments.
Okay. I have just a couple of reminders. One is you all got notices from, I think, Mr. Hawker, reminding of the League of Cities kind of political agenda, legislative agenda for the coming year. If you take a look at that and make your kind of choices, priorities, and get them in, that would be helpful.
Turn mine in.
Oh, good. And the other thing is, darn it, I didn't write the date down. I'm looking at an ODOT Nell Scott Highway 101 construction meeting, Cultural Center, 6 p.m.
I think it's the 16th, Mr. Mayor, at the Cultural Center.
Okay. Does anybody, but I know it's before our next council meeting, so the 16th could very well be. But it's an ODOT meeting, again, for those interested at the Cultural Center to get an update on the activity that's going on Highway 101. It's their effort to keep us informed, and certainly the public and businesses. So maybe we can even put that, if we don't have it on the website, city website or something, we could try to advertise that. And
Yes.
okay. Anything else good of the order? Let's call it a night.
All right.